The sun was setting on planet Omega-7, painting the sky in deep reds and purples. Jia checked her weapon for the third time. The weight of the plasma rifle felt good in her hands. It was time for her patrol. "Be careful out there," said Captain Lee from the command post. "Our sensors picked up strange movements in Sector 4. Jia nodded. "I always am, sir." She was the best scout in the human outpost. Everyone knew it. At 28 years old, Jia had fought in more battles than soldiers twice her age. Her black hair was cut short, practical for a soldier. Her dark eyes missed nothing. "I'll be back before midnight," she said, slipping on her helmet. Jia moved through the tall blue grass of Omega-7 like a ghost. The frontier planet was beautiful but dangerous. Humans had only lived here for 5 years. They still didn't know all its secrets. 2 hours into her patrol, Jia reached the edge of Sector 4. Something felt wrong. The night was too quiet. No insects chirping. No night birds calling. Just silence. She crouched low, turning on her night vision. The world turned green in her visor. She scanned the area slowly. There. A movement to her left. Then another to her right. "Base, this is Scout Jia," she whispered into her comm. "I think I'm—" The comm exploded with static. Jammed. Jia's heart beat faster. She was not alone. She raised her rifle just as the first Vex burst from the ground. It was huge, standing over 7 feet tall. Its body looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and 2 legs. Its exoskeleton gleamed in the moonlight. Jia fired. The plasma bolt hit the creature in the shoulder. It screeched but didn't fall. More shapes emerged from the darkness. 3, 5, 7 Vex warriors surrounded her. Jia had heard stories about the Vex. They were new to this part of space. Aggressive. Smart. Dangerous. Jia fired again and again. 2 Vex fell, their exoskeletons smoking where her shots had hit. She rolled to avoid a swipe from another, coming up to fire point blank into its face. "Come on then," she shouted, feeling the battle rush take over. A Vex lunged at her from behind. Jia spun, smashing her rifle into its head. The creature staggered. She kicked its knee joint, and it fell with a crack. 4 more to go. Jia fought like a storm, each move flowing into the next. Shoot, move, strike, dodge. She had trained for this all her life. But there were too many. As she took down a 4th Vex, something sharp hit her leg. Jia looked down to see a dart sticking out of her thigh. Her vision blurred. "No," she growled, fighting the drug in her system. "I promised Da." Her brother's face flashed in her mind. Dad was only 16, waiting for her back on Earth. "I'll come back," she had told him before leaving. "I always come back." Jia fired one more shot, taking down another Vex. Her legs gave out. She fell to one knee, still trying to aim her weapon. The largest Vex approached her, moving carefully. It chittered something to the others. Jia couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. Take her alive. Why? She managed to ask as darkness crept into the edges of her vision. The Vex leader leaned close. Its voice was like stones grinding together. "You fight well, human. Better than others. You will provide valuable data." Jia tried to raise her gun one last time, but her arm wouldn't move. The drug was too strong. As consciousness slipped away, her last thought was of her promise. "I will come back, Da." Somehow. The Vex gathered around the unconscious human. Their leader gave orders to handle her with care. This specimen was special. This one would help them understand how to defeat all humans. They didn't know that in capturing Jia, they had made a terrible mistake. They thought they had caught a soldier. They had actually caught a force of nature. And soon, they would pay for it with broken bodies and shattered bones. Morning came too soon. Jia had barely slept when a harsh buzzer woke everyone. The door slid open, and 2 Vex guards entered. "Arena time," Han said quietly. "Stay calm. Don't show fear." One guard pointed at Jia. New specimen. Come. Gia stood slowly. The implants in her arms and legs tingled with warning. She followed the guards out of the room and down a long hallway. The walls were made of some dark metal that absorbed light. They stopped at a large door. One guard handed her a short metal rod. Weapon, it said in its grinding voice. Gia took the rod. It was heavy, about 2 feet long. Not a great weapon, but better than nothing. What am I fighting? She asked. The Vex did not answer. They pushed her through the door, which closed behind her with a loud clang. Gia stood in a large circular arena. The floor was covered in sand. Around the edges, behind clear barriers, sat dozens of Vex. They watched her with their 4 eyes, totally silent. Above, in a special viewing box, sat Commander Crix. Next to him was a smaller Vex with blue markings who seemed to be taking notes on a strange device. A door opened on the other side of the arena. Something large moved in the shadows. First test. Crix's voice boomed from speakers. Combat response against Kraken Predator. Begin. A creature lumbered into the light. It was huge, at least 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin and 6 limbs. Its mouth was filled with jagged teeth, and 4 eyes glowed yellow in its massive head. The Kraken charge. Gia rolled to the side, feeling the ground shake as the creature thundered past. The audience of Vex watched without making a sound. The Kraken turned and charged again. This time, Gia stood her ground until the last second. She ducked under its massive arm and brought her metal rod up hard against its side. The weapon bounced off the creature's thick hide. The Kraken roared and swung at her. One clawed hand caught her shoulder, tearing her jumpsuit and drawing blood. Gia stumbled back. The implants in her body began to burn. Fight properly, Crix's voice commanded, or suffer. The pain increased. Gia dropped to one knee, teeth clenched. She would not scream. Not here. Not in front of them. The Kraken charged again. This time, Gia spotted something, a patch of softer skin under its jaw. She waited until the creature was almost on her, then rolled forward instead of away. The move surprised the Kraken. It stumbled, trying to stop. Gia struck upward with all her strength. The metal rod hit the soft spot. The Kraken howled and fell back. The pain from her implants stopped. The message was clear: fight well, and the pain stops. The Kraken was hurt but not defeated. It circled her more carefully now. Gia matched its movements, looking for another weakness. There, its eyes seemed sensitive to light. She angled her rod to catch the arena lights, flashing reflected light into the creature's face. It flinched and raised 2 arms to block the glare. Gia struck again, targeting the same soft spot. This time, the Kraken collapsed. It lay on the ground, breathing heavily, yellow blood seeping from its wound. Finish it, Crix ordered. Gia stood over the fallen creature. It looked at her with eyes full of pain and confusion. It was not evil, just another prisoner, forced to fight. No, she said, lowering her weapon. Silence fell over the arena. The watching Vex leaned forward. Finish it, Crix repeated, or face reconditioning. Gia looked up at the commander. No, she said again, louder. The implants in her body exploded with pain. Gia fell to her knees, then to her side. It felt like her blood was on fire. Still, she did not scream. Through eyes blurred with tears, she saw Vex guards enter the arena. They dragged the wounded Kraken away. Take her to reconditioning, Crix ordered. She must learn. As guards grabbed her arms, Gia saw Han and other prisoners watching from a barred window high in the wall. Their faces showed fear, but also something else, a tiny spark of hope. Someone had finally said no. The reconditioning room was worse than Gia had imagined, but as they strapped her to a cold metal table, she made herself remember her brother's face. They could hurt her body. They could not touch her spirit. Pain woke Gia. It started in her head and spread to every part of her body. She opened her eyes slowly, A bright light made her squint. "She's awake," a voice said in Korean. Jia turned her head. An older man with gray hair looked down at her. His face was thin, with deep lines around his eyes. He wore a torn gray jumpsuit. "Where am I?" Jia asked, her throat dry. "They call it the pit," the man said. "My name is Han. I was an engineer on the starship Daejun before they took me." Jia tried to sit up. Her muscles screamed in protest. She noticed strange metal discs embedded in her arms and legs. "Don't move too fast," Han warned. "Those are neural implants. The Vex put them in all new prisoners." Jia looked around. She was in a large room with metal walls. About 20 beings huddled in small groups. Most were human, but some were clearly alien. Beings with blue skin, others with 4 arms. "How long have I been here?" she asked. 3 days, Han replied. "You fought the drugs longer than most. They had to give you extra doses." A young man approached them. He was thin with hollow cheeks. His once fancy clothes were now dirty and torn. "Is she the new fighter they brought in?" he asked Han. Han nodded. "Jia, this is Ta." He was a diplomat on a peace mission. Tae's eyes were dark with fear. "Did they tell you why they took you?" "They said I had a unique stress response they wanted to study." Before Jia could answer, a loud buzzer sounded. Everyone in the room stiffened. A door slid open. 3 Vex soldiers entered, followed by a larger Vex with red markings on its exoskeleton. This one wore some kind of metal collar around its neck. "That's Commander Crix," Han whispered. "He runs this place." Crix walked to the center of the room. Its 4 eyes scanned the prisoners. "Greetings, specimens," Crix said in perfect English. Its voice sounded like metal grinding on stone. "We have a new addition today. Stand, soldier." Jia felt a sudden burning in her implants. Her body moved without her control, forcing her to stand. "This is how it works here," Crix continued. "You serve the Vex Collective by providing data. You fight when ordered. You submit to tests when ordered. Those who cooperate receive food and rest. Those who resist receive pain." To demonstrate, Crix pressed something on its wrist. Jia's implants burned like fire. She fell to her knees, teeth clenched against a scream. "Some of you will die here," Crix said. "Many already have, but your deaths will have meaning. They will help us understand all species better, especially humans, with their strange blend of weakness and strength." The pain stopped. Jia gasped for air. "Tomorrow, our new specimen will enter the arena," Crix announced. "Prepare her." The Vex left. Han helped Jia back to a sitting position against the wall. "What is this place, really?" Jia asked when she could speak again. "Part lab, part arena," Han explained. "They study how different species fight, how we handle pain, how we break. I've been here 3 months, others longer. Has anyone ever escaped?" Han's face grew darker. "They tried. The implants stopped them. The Vex can trigger pain or even death through them." Tai sat down beside them, his hands shaking. "I can't sleep anymore," he whispered. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the arena." Jia looked at the frightened diplomat, then at the weary engineer. Then she looked at the other prisoners. Broken, hopeless. "My brother is waiting for me," she said quietly. "I promised him I'd return." "Promises don't matter here," Ta said bitterly. Jia touched the implant on her arm. "Mine do." That night, as others slept, Jia quietly tested her limits. How much could she move before pain started? What were the implant's weak points? What materials were around her that could be used as weapons? The Vex had made a mistake. They thought capturing her would break her. Instead, it made her more dangerous. Because now, she had nothing to lose, except a promise to keep. 3 days passed before Jia could stand without pain. Reconditioning had been brutal. The Vex had used machines to hurt her body and strange images to attack her mind. They had shown her pictures of Earth burning, of her brother Dag crying out for help. But Jia knew they were fake. She held onto that knowledge like a shield. When the guards finally returned her to the prisoner room, Han helped her to a corner where they could talk quietly. "You survived," he said, his voice low. "Many don't come back from their first reconditioning." Jia took a small sip from the water cup he offered. "They wanted me to break. But you didn't." Han looked at her with new respect. The others noticed. "They're talking about you." Jia glanced around the room. Several prisoners were watching her. Some looked away when she met their eyes, but others nodded slightly. "Why are the Vex doing this?" she asked. "Why not just kill us?" Han leaned closer. "They fear us, especially humans. Fear us. They have better weapons, better ships. It's not about technology." Han tapped his head. "It's about how we think. The Vex are like insects. They think as one. They can't understand beings who think differently from each other, who adapt, who surprise." A small blue-skinned alien approached them. Han nodded in greeting. "This is Kelv," Han said. "He's from the Trellick system." Kelv bowed slightly. "You fought well, human Jia." His voice was soft and musical. "And you showed mercy. This is rare here." Todd joined them, sitting with his back to the wall. He looked worse than before, thinner and more afraid. "They say you're going back to the arena tomorrow," Ta said. "Against 2 opponents this time." Jia felt her stomach tighten, but she kept her face calm. "Then I'll need to be ready." That night, when the lights dimmed for sleep time, Jia asked Han to teach her about the implants. The old engineer had been watching them being made and installed. "They connect to the nervous system here, here, and here," Han explained, pointing to spots on her arm. "When they send the pain signal, try focusing on one strong memory. It might help block some of the pain." Jia nodded. "Can you teach that to others?" Han looked surprised. "Yes, but we need to share knowledge," Jia said quietly. "All of us. You know about the implants. I know about fighting. Kelv knows about the Vex language. I saw him listening to the guards. Even Ta has diplomatic training. What are you suggesting?" "An alliance. Among all prisoners, we share what we know. We help each other survive." Han's eyes widened. "That's dangerous. If the Vex find out, they'll kill us." Jia gave a small, bitter smile. "They're already killing us, just slowly." Han was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. "I'll speak to others I trust. Carefully." Over the next weeks, between brutal arena fights and painful reconditioning sessions, Jia built her alliance. It started small, just Han, Kelv, and 2 human miners named Sun and Gil. Then others joined. They shared knowledge in whispers during mealtimes or by signs when words were too dangerous. Jia taught fighting techniques. Han taught pain control. Kelv taught Vex words he had learned. Even Ta helped, showing others how to read body language to know when a guard might be in a bad mood, a time to be extra careful. After one particularly harsh arena fight, Jia made a discovery. When her emotions became very strong, when she was furious or deeply focused, the implant's control weakened. It was small, just a moment of freedom, but it was something. She taught this to the others. "Focus on one thing," she told them. "One memory, one feeling, one goal." For Jia, it was always the same focus: her brother's face, her promise to return. The Vex noticed something was changing. The prisoners were surviving longer, fighting better, showing less fear. Commander Crix watched Jia closely through the arena cameras. There was something different about this human, something dangerous. "Increase her testing schedule," he ordered his science officer. "I want to find her breaking point." What Crix didn't understand was that Jia had already been broken once, years ago when her parents died. She had put herself back together then. And what you rebuild in yourself, no one can ever truly break again. 2 months had passed since Jia's capture. Her body was now covered in scars from countless arena fights. She had faced monsters, robots, and even other prisoners. She had won every fight, but always refused to kill. Each refusal earned her reconditioning, but still she refused. The other prisoners looked to her now, even those who didn't speak human languages. They watched how she stood straight despite her pain, how she shared her food with weaker prisoners, how she taught them to resist. But even the strongest spirit can bend under enough pressure, and Commander Crix was determined to find that pressure. It was arena day again. Jia stood waiting for the doors to open, holding her metal rod. She had learned to use it well. Beside her stood Tai, shaking with fear. "I can't do this," Ta whispered. "I'm not a fighter like you." "Just remember what I taught you," Jia said. "Keep moving. Stay behind me when you can." For the first time, the Vex had put two prisoners together against a common enemy. Jia didn't trust this change. It felt like a trap. The doors opened. Jia and Ta stepped into the arena. The crowd of Vex watched in silence as always. "Today's test," Commander Crix announced, "is survival against superior force." A door on the far side opened. 3 Kraken predators emerged, larger than the one Jia had faced before. But these had metal plates attached to their vulnerable spots. The Vex had learned from Jia's previous fights. "Begin," Crix ordered. The creatures charged. Jia pushed Ta to one side and rolled to the other, splitting the attacker's focus. 2 Kraken followed her. One went after Ta. "Keep moving," Jia shouted to Ta as she dodged a massive claw. She struck at the first Kraken's leg, making it stumble. The second one lunged at her. She barely escaped its jaws. Across the arena, Tai was running in panic. The Kraken chasing him was gaining ground. "Tai, remember the blind spot," Jia called. Tai tried to dodge as she had taught him, but fear made him slow. The Kraken caught him with one claw, lifting him off the ground. Jia abandoned her own fight and ran toward Ta. The diplomat's scream cut through the air as the creature's claws dug into his side. With a desperate leap, Jia struck the Kraken's eye. It roared and dropped Ta, who fell limply to the ground. Blood pooled around Ta's body. Too much blood. His eyes met Jia's, filled with pain and fear. Then they went empty. "No," Jia screamed. In that moment of distraction, one of the other Kraken struck her from behind. Jia flew across the arena and hit the wall hard. Pain exploded through her body. The implants added their own burning agony. The 3 Kraken surrounded her. Jia tried to stand but couldn't. She had failed. Tai was dead. She would be next. Commander Crix's voice came over the speakers. "Submit, human. Acknowledge your weakness." Jia looked at Ta's body, at the hungry Kraken, at the watching Vex. Something cold and hard formed in her chest. "I submit," she whispered. The pain from the implants stopped immediately. The Kraken were called back. Medical Vex came to collect Ta's body and treat Jia's wounds. In the viewing box, Commander Crix made notes. Subject shows breaking point when ally is killed. Emotional bonds are weakness. Use this. For 3 days, Jia did not speak. She ate the food given to her. She followed orders. When Han or others tried to talk to her, she turned away. On the 4th day, she was taken to a new room. It looked like a human medical bay. A human doctor greeted her. "Jia, we found you. You're safe now." Jia's heart leaped. "How?" "Human forces attacked the facility. We've rescued all the prisoners. You're going home." Jia fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Die. I can see Die again." The doctor smiled. "Yes, very soon." For 1 perfect hour, Jia believed she was free. The doctor checked her wounds, told her about the rescue mission, asked about her time in captivity. Then the doctor's face flickered. The room's walls changed color. Everything dissolved like mist. Jia found herself strapped to a table in the reconditioning room. Commander Crix stood over her. "Interesting response to the simulation," he said. Hope is indeed your strongest emotion. Jia's heart turned to stone as she understood. There had been no rescue. It was all a trick to study her responses. But in that moment of crushing despair, she felt something strange. The implant in her arm buzzed, then went silent. Her rage had overwhelmed its circuits. She didn't let her face show any change. But now she knew something important. The implants could fail. And hope wasn't her weakness. It was her weapon. Jia continued to act broken. She kept her head down when guards passed. She obeyed orders without question. She stopped talking to other prisoners during mealtimes. The Vex believed they had finally broken her spirit. They relaxed their watch on her. This was exactly what Jia wanted. Behind her empty eyes, Jia's mind was working harder than ever. Now that the guards paid less attention to her, she could watch them more closely. She began to study Vex bodies carefully during arena fights and guard changes. One night, when the room was dark and most prisoners were asleep, Han sat beside her. "Are you really broken?" He whispered so quietly that only she could hear. Jia didn't look at him. "The implants can fail," she whispered back, "when emotions are very strong." Han's eyes widened slightly. "You're sure?" "Yes. I'm watching the Vex now. Learning." Han nodded once and moved away. The next day, he passed her message to Kelv, who passed it to others. Hope spread in whispers and small glances. During her next arena fight, Jia paid special attention to her opponent. It was a Vex warrior, not as large as Crix, but still dangerous. The Vex moved quickly on its 6 legs, striking with its 4 arms. But Jia noticed something important. The Vex exoskeleton was strong, but the joints were weaker, especially where the legs connected to the body. And when she hit those spots, the Vex made a different sound, a high clicking that might be pain. She lost that fight on purpose, letting the Vex warrior knock her down. As she lay on the ground, pretending to be more hurt than she was, she watched how the Vex moved, how it bent its legs, how it held its head. Back in the prisoner room, Gil, one of the human miners, sat near her during the meal. "The walls," he said quietly. "I've been tapping them at different spots. Behind the food dispenser, they sound different. Thinner, maybe." Jia gave a tiny nod. Everyone in their growing alliance was gathering information now. 2 days later, Han made an important discovery. He had been watching the Vex guards communicate. They have some kind of sound system. He told Jia during exercise time when they could talk more freely. Their antennae twitch when they receive messages, and they all react at the same time, like they're hearing the same thing. "A communication network," Jia said thoughtfully. "Can we hear it?" "No, must be a frequency only they can hear." Han scratched his chin. "But in my engineering work, I learned that any communication system can be disrupted if you find the right frequency." The next day, Sun, the other miner, managed to steal a small piece of metal during his work duty cleaning the arena. He passed it to Han, who hid it under his sleeping mat. Jia continued to fight in the arena, always watching, always learning. She noticed that the Vex seemed to work together perfectly, as if they shared one mind. But they weren't truly a hive mind. They could act alone if needed. In one fight, she managed to break a Vex warrior's leg at the joint. The sound it made caused all the watching Vex to flinch at once. Another clue. After 3 weeks of pretending to be broken, Jia was given new duties. She was now trusted to clean the hallways outside the prisoner room. This gave her a chance to learn the layout of more of the facility. One day, while cleaning near an open door, she heard Commander Crix speaking to another Vex. "The human specimen provides excellent data," Crix said. "When broken, they become completely passive. This will help us control the human worlds after conquest." The other Vex made clicking sounds. "The Council demands results soon. The invasion fleet needs this data before launch." Jia's blood ran cold. The Vex were planning to invade human space. All this testing was to learn how to break human resistance. How many prisoners had they studied? How many had they broken? That night, Jia gathered Han, Kelv, Sun and Gil in a corner of the room. "We need to move faster," she whispered. "They're planning an invasion." Han looked worried. "We're still missing pieces. We need a way to disrupt their communications, and a path to the ships." Jia nodded. "And we need to know exactly how the implants work." She touched the metal disc in her arm. "I think I have an idea about that." For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a small smile. The Vex thought they knew how to break humans. They would soon learn how wrong they were. 3 more weeks passed. Jia lost every arena fight on purpose. The Vex began to use her less often, thinking she was no longer worth studying. This gave her more time to work on her plan. Han had been secretly working on the piece of metal that Sun had stolen. At night, when the lights were dim, he shaped it with a sharp stone he had found. Slowly, it became a small tool. "It's a disruptor," he explained to Jia when they could talk safely. "If I'm right about the Vex communication frequency, this might interfere with it. But I need something electronic to complete it." Jia nodded. "Leave that to me." The next day, during her cleaning duty, Jia pretended to trip near a control panel. As she fell, her hand hit the panel hard, breaking off a small chip. She quickly hid it in her mouth before the guards could see. That night, she passed the chip to Han. His eyes lit up. "This might work," he whispered. "Give me 2 days." While Han worked on the disruptor, Jia shared her plan with the core members of their alliance. "We need to time this perfectly," she told them. "Once we start, we'll have only minutes before they realize what's happening." Kelv, who had been learning more Vex words, shared important news. "They have big events soon. All important Vex come to watch special arena fights. They call it Demonstration Day." Jia's eyes narrowed. "When?" "5 days from now." This was perfect. With more Vex watching the arena, fewer would be guarding other areas. Gil, who had been mapping the facility based on what different prisoners had seen, drew a rough map on the floor with water, then quickly erased it. "The ship bay is here," he pointed. 2 levels up from the arena. "If we can get there." Sun spoke up. "But the implants, how do we stop the pain?" "I've been practicing," Jia said. "Every night, I focus my mind and emotions until the implant buzzes. I think I can make mine fail completely with enough focus. And I can teach you how." For the next 5 days, during the short rest periods, and in whispered conversations during meals, Jia taught the others her technique for overcoming the implants. "Focus on one strong emotion," she instructed. "Anger works best for me. Make it fill your entire body. Direct it at the implant." Some learned quickly. Others struggled. But all were ready to try when the time came. Han finished the disruptor on the 4th day. It was small enough to hide in his hand. "I've tested it on the door sensor when the guards weren't looking," he said. "It worked for a few seconds. That might be all we get." On the morning of Demonstration Day, Jia gathered their core group one last time. "Today we either escape or die," she said simply. "If you want to stay behind, I understand." No one spoke. No one stepped back. Jia nodded. "The plan has 3 parts. First, Han uses the disruptor in the arena to confuse the Vex. Second, we fight through any guards, targeting their weak joints. Third, we get to the ship bay and take a transport." "What about the other prisoners?" Kelv asked. "We free as many as we can along the way," Jia said. "But our priority has to be stopping the invasion. If we can get back to human space with information about Vex weaknesses." Everyone understood. This wasn't just about their freedom anymore. It was about saving their worlds. As the guards came to take Jia to the arena, she exchanged one last look with Han. He would be brought to the viewing area with other prisoners to watch the demonstration. Commander Crix was waiting in the arena. Behind him stood 6 Vex warriors. "Today," Crix announced to the audience, "we demonstrate the breaking of human will. This specimen will fight until she begs for mercy." Jia stepped forward, head down, looking defeated. But inside, Her anger was building. She focused it like a laser on the implants in her body. The first Vex warrior approached. In the viewing area, Han readied the disruptor. Among the prisoners, Gil, Sun, and Kelv prepared to move. Jia looked up at Commander Crix. For the first time in weeks, she allowed her true feelings to show on her face. Not fear, not submission. Pure, determined rage. Crix stepped back in surprise. In that moment, Jia felt her implants buzz, then go silent. It was time. The first Vex warrior charged at Jia. She didn't dodge as expected. Instead, she ran straight at it. The Vex hesitated, surprised by this new behavior. That hesitation costed everything. Jia ducked under its strike and hit upward with her fist, targeting the weak joint where its leg met its body. There was a loud crack. The Vex stumbled. In the viewing area, Han activated the disruptor. A high-pitched sound, barely audible to human ears, filled the arena. The effect on the Vex was immediate. They all froze, their antennae twitching wildly. Some began moving in circles or bumping into each other. Now, Han shouted to the prisoners around him. The guards nearby were also confused by the disruption. Gil and Sun tackled one, targeting its leg joints as Jia had taught them. Kelv and 3 other prisoners attacked a second guard. In the arena, Commander Crix shook off the confusion faster than the others. "Stop them," he ordered, but his voice wasn't being transmitted properly through the disrupted network. Jia faced the 5 remaining Vex warriors. They were disorganized, moving clumsily without their communication network. She attacked the closest one, striking hard at its joints. The Vex fell with a screech. The second tried to grab her, but its movements were slow and predictable. Jia ducked and struck again, breaking another joint. The audience of Vex officials was in chaos. Some tried to leave, others tried to help the warriors. None of them were fighters themselves. Han led the prisoner group out of the viewing area, stepping over the fallen guards. "To the upper level," he shouted. More prisoners joined them in the hallway, those who had been waiting in their room. Not everyone came. Some were too afraid or too weak to try, but more than half of the prisoners followed Han. In the arena, Jia had disabled 4 of the warriors. The 5th backed away from her, making clicking sounds of distress. Commander Crix stood behind it, his 4 eyes fixed on Jia. "You pretended to be broken," Crix said. His voice sounded different without the communication network, less confident. "I learned from the best pretenders," Jia replied, advancing slowly. Crix backed toward a door. "The implants should be stopping you. Pain can be overcome." Jia kept moving forward. "That's what you never understood about humans. We don't break forever." Alarms began to sound throughout the facility. The disruption wouldn't last much longer. Crix made a break for the door. Jia raced after him, but was tackled from behind by the last warrior. They rolled across the arena floor. The warrior was stronger, pinning her down with its 4 arms. Its mandibles snapped near her face. Jia thought of her promise to return. With a roar, she twisted her body and broke free. Rolling away, she grabbed a broken piece of Vex armor from the floor, a sharp, curved shard. As the warrior charged again, she used its momentum against it, driving the shard into the soft spot under its jaw. The warrior collapsed. Jia ran for the door Crix had used. It led to a narrow hallway and a set of stairs. She could hear fighting above, her allies making their way to the ship bay. When she reached the upper level, she found Han and the others fighting more Vex guards. The disruptor was starting to fail. The Vex were beginning to coordinate their movements again. "Jia," Han called when he saw her. "This way." They fought their way down a long corridor. Many prisoners were hurt. Some couldn't continue. But those who could kept moving, following Han's directions to the ship bay. Finally, they'd reached a large door. Jill and Sun forced it open. Inside was a huge room filled with Vex transport ships. Small ones, big enough for maybe 20 people. There, Han pointed to the nearest ship. I can fly it. I studied their controls during work duty. As they ran to the ship, a voice stopped Jia cold. This ends now, human. Commander Crix stood between them and the ship. 6 fresh Vex warriors flanked him. The communication network was working again. They moved in perfect coordination. Jia stepped forward. Get to the ship, she told the others. I'll handle this. Han hesitated. Jia, go, she ordered. The information has to reach human space. Han nodded and led the others toward the ship, circling wide around Crix and his warriors. Jia faced the Vex commander. In one hand, she held the sharp shard of armor. In the other, nothing but her rage and her promise. You're right about one thing, she said to Crix. This ends now. Commander Crix was almost twice Jia's size. His exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lights of the ship bay. The 6 warriors spread out, trying to surround her. You have lost, Crix said. Your rebellion will be forgotten. Your species will be conquered. Jia didn't waste breath on a reply. She attacked. Moving faster than the Vex expected, she slid under the first warrior's reach and struck hard at its knee joint. There was a satisfying crack. The warrior fell, screeching. Behind her, she heard the transport ship's engines start. Good. Han was getting the others to safety. 2 more warriors rushed her from different sides. Jia waited until the last moment, then dropped to the floor. The warriors collided above her. She rolled away and sprang to her feet, driving her shard of armor into a weak spot on one's back. 3 down. 3 to go. Across the bay, other Vex were rushing in, drawn by the alarms. Time was running out. Jia knew she couldn't beat them all, but she didn't need to. She just needed to give the ship time to escape. The remaining warriors approached more cautiously now. They had seen what she could do. Crix clicked orders to them in the Vex language. In that moment, Jia had an idea. She reached down to her arm, where one of the implants was embedded, and dug her fingers into her own skin. Pain shot through her, but she kept digging until she felt the metal disc. With a scream of effort, she tore it out. Blood ran down her arm, but Jia smiled. She held up the bloody implant. Your control tools don't work on us, she said loudly. Remember that when you face humans again. She threw the implant at Crix's feet. The commander looked down at it, then back at Jia. Impressive, Crix admitted, but futile. The 3 warriors attacked at once. Jia dodged the first, took a hit from the second that sent her sprawling, and barely avoided the third's claws. She rolled to her feet, breathing hard. Behind her, the transport ship was rising from its dock, almost free. Crix himself moved forward now. He was faster than the warriors, his movements precise and deadly. Jia felt a sharp pain as one of his claws caught her side, opening a long cut. She stumbled back, pressing her hand to the wound. The warriors closed in around her. Then, from the ship bay doors, came a sound that made everyone freeze. A battle cry, followed by dozens of voices. More prisoners were rushing in. Those who had been too afraid before had found their courage. Led by Gil and Kelv, they attacked the Vex from behind. The warriors turned to face this new threat, giving Jia the opening she needed. She lunged at Crix, her blood-slick hands gripping her weapon. The commander was ready, catching her arm before she could strike. They grappled, his strength versus her desperation. You cannot win, Crix hissed. I already have, Jia replied. She glanced up. The transport ship hovered near the ceiling, near a large viewing window. Han was at the controls. He gave her one last look, then fired the ship's weapons. The window shattered. Air began rushing out into space. Anything not tied down was pulled toward the opening, including the smaller Vex. Crix lost his balance. Jia drove her weapon into the joint where his head connected to his body. Not deep enough to kill, but enough to cause extreme pain. As Crix staggered back, Jia looked up at the transport ship. It was escaping through the broken window into open space. Han and the others would make it to human space with all the information about Vex weaknesses. The invasion would be met by prepared defenders. The ship bay doors slid open. More Vex poured in, wearing devices that kept them anchored against the rushing air. Jia felt herself being pulled toward the broken window. She could try to fight, to survive somehow. Instead, she looked at Crix, who was clutching his injured neck. "Remember my name," she said. "Jia, the human who broke you." Then she let go of her handhold, allowing the air current to pull her toward the window. As she flew past the wounded Crix, she grabbed his arm, taking him with her. Together, they were pulled out into the cold vacuum of space. 3 weeks later, a damaged Vex transport ship limped into a human outpost. Inside were 38 former prisoners, including Han, Kelv, Gil, and Sun. They carried critical information about Vex physiology, communication systems, and battle tactics. When asked about the woman who had made their escape possible, Han simply said, "Her name was Jia. She made a promise to return home. And because of her, the rest of us did." On Earth, a young man named Da received a message. It contained no words, just a military medal of honor. He understood what it meant. His sister had kept her promise in the only way she could. The Vex invasion, when it came 6 months later, met a prepared human defense force that knew exactly where to strike. For every human ship they destroyed, they lost 3 of their own.